There comes a final stage in this journey where everything you once struggled to understand begins to connect, where confusion turns into clarity, where random effort turns into intentional action, and where you stop chasing success and start operating like someone who already belongs in it. Because by now you've seen the patterns, you've experienced the slow phases, the frustrating moments, the small wins, and maybe even a breakthrough. And all of it has shaped the way you think, the way you create, and most importantly, the way you see yourself in this space. At this level, the question is no longer, can I grow? But how far can I take this? And that shift in perspective changes everything, because instead of doubting your potential, you start exploring it, testing limits, pushing boundaries, experimenting with new formats, new ideas, new approaches, and this willingness to evolve becomes your greatest strength. Because platforms change, trends fade, audiences shift, but creators who adapt continue to grow, regardless of external changes. There's also a deeper understanding of legacy that begins to form, because you realize that every piece of content you create is part of something bigger, part of a digital footprint that represents your ideas, your voice, your perspective, and over time, this collection of content becomes more than just videos. It becomes a body of work, something that people can return to, learn from, and connect with. And this realization adds a new level of purpose to what you do. But with this awareness comes responsibility, because influence is powerful, and as your audience grows, so does your impact. And this means that your words, your ideas, your content have the ability to shape opinions, inspire actions, and affect how people think. And this is where intention matters, where you decide what kind of creator you want to be, what kind of value you want to provide, and what kind of relationship you want to build with your audience. There's also a moment where you look back at where you started, at the hesitation, the doubt, the uncertainty, and it almost feels unreal, because the person who once questioned everything is now someone who understands the process, someone who has experienced growth, someone who knows what it takes to keep going. And that transformation is not just external, it's internal. It changes how you approach challenges, how you handle setbacks, and how you view opportunities. And yet, despite all this growth, one thing remains constant: the need to keep creating, because momentum is not something you achieve once, it's something you maintain, something you build on continuously. And the moment you stop, the moment you become too comfortable, too satisfied, is the moment growth begins to slow, because this space rewards those who stay active, who stay relevant, who continue to show up. There's also a subtle but powerful shift in how you see competition, because instead of feeling threatened by other creators, you start seeing them as part of the ecosystem, as sources of inspiration, as benchmarks, as reminders of what's possible. And this mindset removes fear, replaces it with focus, and allows you to concentrate on your own growth instead of comparing yourself constantly. At this stage, creativity becomes more refined, more intentional, because you're no longer experimenting randomly, you're building on experience, using what you've learned to create content that is not just engaging, but meaningful, content that stands out, not just because of its format, but because of its depth, its clarity, its impact. There's also a realization that success is not a destination. It's a process, something that evolves over time, because what feels like success today may feel like a starting point tomorrow. And this continuous evolution keeps you moving forward, keeps you striving for more, not out of pressure, but out of curiosity, out of a desire to see what you're truly capable of. And in the middle of all this, you begin to understand something that most people never do. That the real value of this journey is not just in the numbers, not in the views, the subscribers, or the recognition, but in the skills you've developed, the discipline you've built, the mindset you've shaped, because those things stay with you. They extend beyond the platform. They influence everything you do. Because at the end of the day, creating a channel is not just about content, it's about transformation, about becoming someone who takes ideas seriously, who turns thoughts into action, who doesn't wait for opportunities but creates them. And that mindset is what truly defines success, not just here, but anywhere. And as this story comes full circle, there's one final truth that stands above everything else. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, not luck, not even timing. It's the decision to start, the courage to continue, and the discipline to never stop improving, because in a world where everyone is watching, only a few choose to be seen, and the moment you decide to step into that space, to create, to share, to build, is the moment your journey truly begins. And what happens next is entirely up to you.